Hello, everyone. Today we're going to play Weaver on the new Season 2 update. I wanted this video to mostly be a documentation of my thoughts on movement. If you're a dev watching this, please, take into consideration what I'm saying. Um, just my thoughts. Uh, and I don't want my thoughts to be one of those things where it means everyone else's opinion is invalid. Um, Everybody's allowed to feel a certain way and have certain thoughts on something. I just wanted to kind of defend why I like the new movement system. Spoiler alert, I like the new movement system. Um, and why I think it's good for the future of the game. I will admit, though, there are some improvements that could be made, but all in all, I have no issues with it. So I am someone who has playtested this game, and I have played on difficulty 20 with the new movement system and with Weaver. Just to show, my goal is I'm not going to use Blink until it's the very last victory board I have left, just because I do want the crown. But so far, I have not used Blink at all. All right, so let's go ahead and do Runestone, because that's a boss that is highly contested as bad now because of the movement system. And let's go ahead and take Cultivated Harmonies. Or I can build Crit. Let me see what I start with. I might build Crit. I haven't played Crit in a while. You know what? I'll play Crit. Let's do it. And I will take Gunk-Filled and Radiant Market just to show the movement system at its hardest possible challenge. Let's do it. I would normally never take these. These two modifier. This modifier with this area is usually really bad, even in Season 1. So, but just to show how it works, I will do it. And we'll go Quilling Cage. I feel good about my starting stuff. Okay, so for those who don't know, the new movement system is you have a 70 movement that gets spent the farther you go away from your starting point. So if I move here, I would lose about 50% of my movement. And if I go here, all the way to the edge, I would have 0 movement left over. Your remaining movement is shown by this shrinking circle right here. You can hold Alt to see it. So if I moved here and ended up here, I would have this much movement left to move around. It's not very obvious unless you hold Alt until you get to the very edge. There has been a lot of feedback to make that more obvious, at least in the tester discussion. Don't know what the devs plan to do about that, but it is something that we've definitely discussed. I hope that they make a change for it. So this new movement system is definitely weird if you've played the game before. If you're a new player, you probably won't notice anything weird about it. But basically, instead of how it worked in Season 1 is Will used to be a complete resource for everything, for movement, for fighting. There's always been the movement stat, but it dictated how far you could go for each orb or each will spent. And that's how it used to work. Now, instead of will being the resource that is spent for movement, movement is its own resource. So one common complaint that I've seen is that people preferred the previous system because they had to think about how they spent their will. And that's valid. The issue with that, though, was that there used to be a free movement range, so the optimal strategy was to not spend will to move. if players didn't realize that, they would find the movement system semi-frustrating. But the moment they realized that they could just, what we called the wiggle, and wiggle out of their way, then it wasn't actually that bad. So as you can see here, pretty scary fight. A lot of gunk everywhere. I like to call it gunk. But all in all, it wasn't that bad of a fight. We'll get more crit chance. That seems pretty good. And we'll make my constrict stronger. I guess that's fine. So I know most people would instant grab Blink here with the new movement system. I'm not going to. As I said earlier, I am purposely not doing it because I want to embrace the new movement system, I guess. With that in mind, I will not take any of this. Restoration would be a nice one because I'm going to have low health as is, so being able to manage that would be good. However, I'm doing a crit build, so I'd rather have evasion or after image or something that could benefit off crits. So I don't think I'll take any of this. I love Jinx, I love after image, I love invigorate. I used to not like Jinx, but since they buffed it, I've fallen in love with it. But I think since I'm building crit, I really need to have after image. It makes the crit chance worse. I am fighting runestones, so there's not going to be much direct attacks for that fight. So after image seems less appealing. And if I avoid Vengewood and Proving Grounds, then I won't need evasion. But if I do go to those places, this will make that much easier. Jinx is just really good now, too. I'm going to do Jinx. Maybe I'll see after image again. Okay, we'll just get more money. This seems like an appealing route, but I want to be able to buy vestiges. Alright, so what are my thoughts on the new movement system, now that I've explained it? So for the new movement system, I like that, like I said before, maybe I didn't say it before. I've been talking to a lot of different people, so my thoughts are all over the place, but basically, I like that movement and will are not the same resource. I like that will is strictly to skill usage, and movement is strictly to positioning. The reason being is that will, like what we would call, I guess, will battery strats, I guess I say we, but what I would call it, is that you would just get as much will as possible and your turns are basically free. Doesn't really matter if your damage isn't the best. I mean, if you can just kill everything quickly, then that's all that really matters. Let's do that. Do that. Okay. There are some people that liked the will system because being able to determine if you needed to move or spend or attack was like it is a thing you were thinking about, right? It wasn't like, I'm not going to say it was not realistic. But I didn't really like that playstyle personally. I dealt with it because I loved the game as a whole, but I never actually really liked that system. Just because, like I mentioned before, spending will to move was always a trap, so to speak, because you could always just wiggle your way around. So I never liked spending will on movement. The other thing is that even if you did, let's just say you did, right? It wasn't punishing at all. Like, if I have poor positioning and I have will left over, okay, I just walk out. Doesn't matter. And so I think that's why I partly like these changes as well. Hey, ooh. I want to spend money. I have so much of it. So, take that. Negative movement. Maybe I'll just take this just to show it. Nah, I should lean into what my build actually is. Yep, let's just do it. Okay, so now I feel good about my items. I want more glyphs. So yeah, positioning is really fun because now it's not just about like there's some situations like if I had this amount of movement left and I was inside this circle, I'd be forced to take damage because of my poor positioning. With the old system, I would have been able to just spend, oh, I have 4 will, I'll just spend 1 will, move out. Now I take 0 damage. And so that's kind of what I'm kind of getting at and why I like the change, because it's no longer a possibility. Okay. Do that, do that, and then do that. Okay, I'll take a little damage there, that's fine. I will kill here, kill here. Okay. Kill here. Boom. We'll just do some more of this. So we'll do that. Do that. We have just enough position to get out. We're good. So yeah, I am probably making it look easy, and that's just really because I'm used to it, right? And that's where I would say that there is not necessarily a lack of strategy. I'll take after image now. There's not necessarily a lack of strategy. It's just a different thought process, right? You have to think about, where do I move to get to where I need to get to? It's not about just, I need to get to where I need to get to. Next fight I'm going to try to explain it a little bit better. Okay. Okay. Let's see, so this should be the chest. Well, this will be a good fight to actually show. So in this will be a very great fight to show. So with this, I have to think about, what do I want to do for positioning? This is like an easy lineup, but if I line up here, I cannot line up over here. If I go here, I can line up here, but I can't line up over here. So this would mean it's not going to be possible to line up all of them, no matter what I do, unless, and this is where if it was more obvious, this would help. If I line up here, let's say get, I don't know, 2 of them right here, I'll still have enough movement to go over here and line up 3. So if I can line up 2 of these guys, heck, I don't even have to, yeah. Yeah, so if I line up 2 of these guys like this, and then line up like this, pick up the orb before I leave, because I don't need the cooldowns, and then I do this. Now what I can do is go here. I'll have movement to get out of this gunk, and then I now have all of this lined up, so I can stitch them to death. I don't have the cooldown because I used it for the orb earlier, but that should be fine, because I can still hit here and hit here. So that's kind of what I get at by the new movement system isn't necessarily brainless. You still have to think about positioning. More importantly on Weaver, Star Captain doesn't really need it because you have so far range, and Clairvoyant doesn't really need movement either because you have such far range with your ball that you don't even have to. Like Clairvoyant, your damage is around your ball. You really don't need to be moving around much. And Star Captain just has crazy range. Ooh, that's very good damage, but I want to save that if I can. But yeah, this is kind of what I'm getting at by I think movement is good as a whole. Because you get interesting situations like this where it's like, okay, how am I going to get everything with my limited movement, right? Is my controlled weaving even worth grabbing? I can get it off these 5, because controlled weaving was buffed to have only 5 enemies, so I don't need these 2. These 2 are just whatever. But I could kill them because they are technically... Like, I could do this, right? And then do this. So now I have controlled weavings. I have 5 targets. I can just kill those guys. I can do that. We can do that. Do that. Probably should use my unstable brew just so I'm not taking damage. That's fine. Yeah, I already got my legendary. Look at that. Cooldowns are my main problem right now, so I'll take that. And Loom will make movement less of a need. Ooh. Cost. I don't really like this one. I could get it for the achievement, but I think I'm going to make my Jinx stronger. No, I'm going to reroll this. I actually don't like these choices. Discounted image would be nice. I don't really have a will economy. I guess I kind of do, where I get 5 will. So I can kind of still do everything. 30 stacks of dread just sounds more appealing, though. I think I'm going to grab this one. I think that's another complaint with the change, is will's less important, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Just means you have to focus more... Focus other than will, I guess. Like, I have 1 will option, but I don't really need another will option. I don't need cheaper stuff. I just need stronger stuff, right? I want to go to the starship, because I can show that on thing. I do need my orbs. Or do I? Do I even need orbs anymore? I mean, I could still constrict twice. It's really nice. This is going to get scary, because everything's going to keep getting stronger, but I should be killing things quickly, because I have a lot of crit. I think it'll be fine. I don't think this will cause any issues. I think I can handle it. I can handle it. I have a lot of commons. I don't want them all. Let's see. Ooh, I want to save that one for sure. I love the music in this place. Right, so now... Yep, now... Movement's no longer even needed. Easiest time. Let's do that. Will I have enough movement if I do this? Yes. The other thing to remember about Weaver is you have infinite attack range for whatever's threaded. So you don't, if you have it threaded, you don't need to be near it. See? Not bad. Heavenly Eclipse. That's a very good one. Marking with all my crit, though, would be really good. Oh, these are both really good choices. I think I'll take this one. It's probably going to be better in the long run. I think getting shields is going to be important, too. Because I have enough damage. And getting crits isn't really a problem for me right now. So I think getting some tankiness will help. I don't really need a vestige. I'm gonna get stats. All right. Let's see. Glove globes. I guess just in case I get something better. I don't really like my... I really should pop my Unstable Brew that one chest fight. Because it's not going to be used. Well. Yeah, this run is going great. Okay. On critting gain shield, this is probably going to be better than... What did I grab earlier? Oh, I didn't... Oh, I grabbed this. Yeah. Do this. Get rid of that. More crit chance could help. We'll do it. And more shield would help. Basically, I'll be a critting machine that cannot die. That sounds very good. Grim Vortex or Dread Harvest. I actually don't want any of those, I don't think. That was weird. Dread Harvest, it's not necessarily late to get the buffs, but I mean, there won't be a lot of deaths on this fight, and it has a lower cooldown. You know what? We'll do Dread Harvest. I really don't want to do Carver. Physical power. Don't really need it. Just do this. Ba-ba-ba-ba-bum. I don't like that potion. Let's go. Ah, you all happily spread out. That makes me semi-happy, I guess. Maybe happy's not the right word. Do that. Do that. And we'll do that. Okay. Okay, don't even have to move. We're good. Do gotta move out of that. We'll take these because I want to feed the addiction. Since I kill that target, I now have a safe space here. So I can kill that. And those guys just die. No. Oh, this one's a very good one. I'll take it. So I think my tank crit build is doing pretty well. This is probably overkill at this point. I think my crit ratio is pretty good, so I think damage is just what I'm concerned about, or healing. I think this is also now a good time to get this. I will probably... I don't want to heal. I'll probably just get the damage. I'll heal here. Then I'll save my money for... Ooh, that would be really good. Okay, I'll save my money. Okay, let's do the new boss. I really think he's cool. Okay, do that. That. Do that to evade. I could phase you right now, and I think that's a good idea. Weaver. Watch him run back in the center. Is there another orb? No. Okay. Just do that. Doesn't matter if there's all this gunk everywhere. Okay, I got max Dread Harvest. Gain 15 movement. You know what? Let's do it. Don't need it, as I've shown, but it doesn't hurt to have it. Will economy is really not something I need right now. Healing would help keep the dream alive, though, so I'll keep healing. Also, with how well my will economy is going, I might just avoid or get rid of this if I have the chance. Don't really need it. I did lose some chance dropping that one item, so I think I'll just raise it back up. Okay. Do that. Do that as well. Okay. And we will do just this. I think I'm gonna reroll this. I'm not gonna have enough money for the legendary anyway. This should be interesting. I think it would counter my blur though, so I don't want to use it. But it would be good if I didn't have blur. Because then I could get to Dread Harvest faster. I mean, it still might be good just because I can get to Dread Harvest faster, but I think I'm good. Extra orb. All movement bindings. I don't have any movement bindings. Now this is what I'm looking for. And 2 ability power. And probably cross stitch. Oh no, this is a lot better. Wish I could get the... I don't actually think I would have needed any of that, actually, now that I think about it. Alright. Let's do it. So, Runestone. One complaint is that you can't get out of its AoE very easily. If you start below, you are guaranteed to get out. And if you're a melee character, there is a safe spot up here that you can also get to. So either way, you have a way out, depending on where you start. And if you are a ranged character with no mobility skill, you'll probably have enough range. If you don't, you'll be kind of stuck. And maybe that's a little annoying, but I will just go ahead and one-shot this phase. But if you are having trouble where you're stuck in Runestone's AoEs, I would highly recommend getting movement, because I didn't get to show it in this run, but there are movements buffs in the font. In this last patch, you just upped it by 5, so uncommon will give you 10 movement, and then I think it goes up by 5 or 10 each rarity. So that doesn't... It's kind of hard to gauge that with how it is currently, but 10 movement is about, if you could see my cursor, about this much extra movement. Like, it's a pretty substantial amount of movement. So like this plus 15, I can use just as a good example. Yeah, now I have that extra movement, and I can go really far now. Actually, I didn't even get the movement. Alright, live F8. Did not get movement buff from Blur. Yeah, because I should be at 85 movement. Oh. Doesn't change my strategy at all. Which was just gonna be murder. Oh, GG. But yeah, this run was mostly to show that you can play Weaver with the new movement system. You just have to think about it a little bit more. It's not as... The new movement system makes everything more positional. Okay. Overall, I like the movement changes. It makes playing Weaver so much more fun. And you can get powerful runs. That was a crit run. I've not played a crit run in a while. Didn't realize it was so strong. But you do have other options. I mean, I played just straight damage Weaver, and I've succeeded with that. So overall, if you're struggling with the new movement changes, my advice would be to stop thinking of... First and foremost, getting movement at fonts is a very, very good thing to do. Specifically, if you go to Vengewood or you're fighting Runestone and you're finding that you need movement, just pick up some movement. Generally, that 1 extra or 2 extra ability power or magic damage, whatever, is not going to be as valuable as that movement. But yeah, so overall, and also the thing to remember too is Clairvoyant, your character is not the damage point your ball is. So your character can be on the complete other side of the map, and your ball is going to be your main damage. Now that kind of changes depending on which bindings you get. If you get something like Invigorate, it still holds true. Restoration still holds true. If you get something like Poison, okay, maybe that's not so true anymore. That's generally the gist. And um, what else? But yeah, otherwise, yeah. And then Star Captain just has insane range with his attacks by design. So movement shouldn't be a top priority for him. Um, Obelisk doesn't really need it either. He does benefit from it, but you really don't need it because you're basically just tanking everything and you already have pretty good AoE. Definitely the characters that benefit the most off movement is Weaver and Magma Miner because he's a melee. There are two characters that love movement. Moss Cloak doesn't really need it. Obelisk doesn't need it. Clairvoyant doesn't need it. Star Captain doesn't need it. However, I will say movement is still very beneficial to get to help dodge certain attacks. And if you feel like you need to use Blink, I mean, that is the strength of Blink, right? It's to exploit the movement system. It doesn't do anything else by itself, right? It doesn't do damage unless you get damage, the damage one, Ascension. And it doesn't really do anything other than just better positioning, right? And so Blink doesn't really change the game. Like, the movement system doesn't change the need for Blink. It just makes it... Blink has always been the anti-punishment binding. And I think it should continue to be that. I think Blink as a whole is fine as is. I would never call for nerfs on Blink at all. I think it's good to have a binding that sole purpose is to help you not be punished for positioning. That makes it a strong choice in its own right. But overall, if you're having trouble playing as Weaver, yeah, remember that you only need 5 enemies, so there's more than 5. You don't need to be moving around trying to get everything. You just need to get 5 of them, and you'll get your controlled weaving. The other important thing to note is will as a resource is a lot less important than it used to be. It's good to have one will option, don't get me wrong. But having, I don't know, 3 free skills and 3 vestiges that give you all will, it's a little overkill. And it's not going to help you win the run at all. You need damage. But that's kind of just some of my thoughts and some of my advice. And if you've watched this whole video, I hope I didn't offend anyone or anything that does not like the new movement system. It's all on you. Like, it's all valid, is what I mean. So it's something that you're free to have as an opinion, and the devs value that opinion. But in my opinion, I do think that the new movement system is great for the future health of the game. And I, again, do think there needs to be improvements made, but once those improvements are made, I think you'll start feeling better. I do like that the game is much more positional based instead of just, do I have enough will? Because that's how the game originally was, is do I have enough will to do what I want to do? If I don't, I need another vestige that gives me more will, or I need some cost discount of some kind. Now it's more about, am I in a position where I'm safe, and do I have enough damage to mitigate what I have? Having cheaper will costs and more will can help with that goal of doing more damage. But fully relying on will as a resource is just not, it's not a thing anymore. That's fine. And so what would I want is, if I had my dream list of improvements, I definitely would want the radius to be more obvious, right? The radius is not very obvious at all. And I think that would help just players in general understand how much movement they're going to have left. And I think orbs providing a very small amount of extra movement would not be the worst idea, because it gives a purpose to orbs other than just cooldowns, basically, and will. I think orbs being that like special thing that gives you a little bit of everything, will, movement, and cooldowns, it's just a great idea, right? That's kind of how it worked before. So with the wiggling, right? If you picked up an orb, you got a little bit more wiggle range. So I think that would be good, like if the will provided, or provided 5 more movement or something, um, and then you stack upon that. I think that would be a good change. I think with those two changes, I would love the movement system as is. It's just really those two things I think that are really needed. Um, Once that is done, I think it's just going to take, it's growing pains, right? It's going to take time for returning players to get used to the new system. I will say, if you are relying on Blink to get used to the new movement system, you're not going to get used to it. But just try for a few runs, just picking up the movement vestiges. Like, they don't seem appealing because they don't give you damage, but just try picking one up. If you see a movement stat in the font and you're like, well, I don't really need 1 more magic damage, or I don't know, that 2 more burn damage or 4 more burn damage, whatever. If you don't really need it, just try taking up the movement stat. I think movement as a stat, giving you more flexibility, is good. And I think if you start picking up those movement stats and stuff, you'll hopefully, I mean, maybe not, but you'll hopefully start to notice that it's a little bit more, um, flavorful, I guess. And if you are a player that likes high will builds, because I know that they exist, I certainly like sometimes playing a high will build. Star Captain and Obelisk definitely excel the most at high will builds. Magma Miner is probably the worst one at full will builds, just because a lot of your stuff is more melee based. For Magma Miner, you just want flat damage. Will is not an important resource, really. I mean, a little bit of will still helps, like I said, but you really just want flat damage. You want to be bursting everything. But if you are a Magma Miner player that likes high will builds, then another idea would be burn probably does well with high will builds, because you can stack a bunch of burn on a high priority target. I don't know, it's just things to think about. And please, I'm also not trying to say that you should change your playstyle. If you like high will builds on Magma Miner, go for it. It's your playstyle. But if you're finding trouble being able to bonk everything, try picking up a little bit of movement with that high will, and it will offer a lot more flexibility. So yeah, that's my thoughts overall on the changes and why I'm fine with the movement changes. If you're having trouble with the movement changes and you want to see me play a specific aspect, please let me know. I will happily play that aspect, and just kind of show it. Otherwise, I'm not gonna probably be recording too many videos until I get to rank 20, because I want to at least make one video for each aspect on rank 20. It's gonna take me a while to get there, and I've been playing with my friend and my fiance a lot, so I've been regrinding this up, but I will be getting to 20. But I will do a video beforehand if somebody wants to see another aspect played with the new movement system, such as Magma Miner, for example, right? Where it might seem tough to play with the new movement system. So that's just kind of what I want to show off. But otherwise, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you give it a chance if you haven't already. I know there's some people that have given it a chance and still don't like it. Perfectly valid opinion, perfectly valid thoughts. But I hope players are not just. I guess I urge you to, if your gut reaction was to not like the new system, I'd urge you to at least give it a shot. Try to understand how it works, and instead of the game is much more. I wouldn't say it's more thoughtless than it used to be. For certain characters, it may be, right? Like Clairvoyant and Star Captain, right? Like I said, they absolutely do not need movement. But for other characters, it actually becomes a it's more about careful positioning now, and you get punished for bad positioning, right? So the game has more thought to it. It's just not the thought isn't how much will do I spend, which is what it used to be. The thought is more how do I position myself, right? And the will just limits how much you can use your bindings. It doesn't necessarily limit your position. And so I think overall I love the changes. I I've been having more fun with this game than I did season 1 just cuz I feel like there's more to think about. Um so I hope you guys will still give it a chance, and devs are still actively listening and they're still trying to figure things out, and I have faith that they will hopefully polish everything and get it into a good place. Um, so overall, thank you for watching. Feel free in the comments to leave your thoughts on the new movement system. I'm not gonna shy away from anyone who differs from my opinion. This is more of just a, I guess, documentation on that. Yes, Weaver can play with the new movement system, and that Blink isn't a necessity. And my overall thoughts on the system, right? And that was the whole goal. I'm repeating myself now, but yeah, thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.